Today we will check how different objects behave under the enormous pressure that a 100-ton hydraulic press can develop in a closed volume. To begin with, we'll see how a foil ball behaves in an unclosed volume. Just push it with an effort of 100 tons. Well, that's pretty good. It turned out to be a pretty thin pancake. But still, this pancake still retains the properties of foil, not a single piece of aluminium from which the foil is made. We have an interesting thing here. A piston with a cylinder. The diameter of the piston is 3 centimeters. The thickness of the cylinder wall is 6 millimeters. If you put an object in this cylinder, then insert a piston there and press it with a 100-ton press, there will be quite a pressure in a closed space. For comparison, I will explain. The tire pressure of a passenger car is about 2 atmospheres. In the truck tire, a little more than 5. The oxygen tank contains about 150 atmospheres. At the bottom of the Mariana Trench, just over 1,000. In our case, when the hydraulic press develops its peak load of 100 tons, the pressure inside the cylinder will be slightly more than 14,000 atmospheres. Some have been asking me in the comments for a long time to try to crush water in this way. But I think now you understand that at a pressure of almost 15,000 atmospheres, no seal can withstand water. To begin with, let's try to test the foil under such pressure. When I was watching the recording, it was only then that I noticed that the camera has lost focus. That's why the video turned out so smeared. But in principle, the main thing here is the result. It looks like you can do without a hammer here. In the end, we get an aluminium coin. In appearance and its properties, it has nothing to do with foil anymore. It is processed and behaves like a piece of aluminium. You can only notice small defects in the form of a chip, which turned out due to the fact that there is a minimum gap between the piston and the cylinder. Now let's see what happens to a piece of wood under such pressure. The camera has lost focus again. Apparently it becomes a contender to be on the other side of the screen. On deceleration, you can notice how the lower part of the cylinder bursts with pressure. Under such enormous pressure, wood behaves like a liquid. As a result, it has become some kind of pressed cardboard. So, what happened to the cylinder? It looks like it's of no longer use too. You can see that it became bloated due to the pressure. I initially assumed that a cylinder with a wall thickness of 6 millimeters would not be enough for such loads, but it was such a alpha test version. And now we're having beta version. During beta testing, the thickness of the walls of the cylinder will already be 1.5 centimeters, and this should definitely be enough. We initially decided to paint the cylinder black so that the camera would not lose focus. We also supplemented the design a bit with a cork, which will be placed from below. We'll also test it with foil. Despite the fact that the gap between the piston and the cylinder is only a couple of hundredths of a millimeter, nevertheless the foil gets there and its wedging occurs. Let's see how ordinary office paper behaves under such pressure. It looks like 2 sheets won't fit there. Okay, let's try with 1. Why am I hitting with a hammer if there is a press nearby? Anyway, you cannot do without a hammer now. And here's a coin made of paper. It was so compressed that now it looks like a piece of some kind of plastic. And it's very hard too. You cannot break it or bend it with your hands. The hammer bounces as if we're hitting a piece of iron. Initially, we tried to plug this cylinder with a cork made of low-grade steel. But from such pressure, the cork increased in diameter and began to jam. Therefore, we had to use a high-alloy steel plug. The piston is also made of it. And this is how a piece of aluminium made of foil behaves under the hammer. There is not a hint of loosening. It really became a whole piece. I wonder what will happen to a sponge for dishwashing. By the way, it's made of steel. Or of iron. The magnet sticks to it nevertheless. Well, that's a decent crush. This protrusion in the middle is due to the fact that the piston was inserted a little on the wrong side. Visually, this sponge has not become a whole piece. Upon examination, you can notice various metal fibers. This is what a dishwashing sponge looks like after being exposed to 14,000 atmospheres. And this is what happened to a piece of foil. We've been rubbing it with sandpaper for 10 seconds though. Let us know in the comments what would you like to test under such pressure. Maybe try a non-Newtonian liquid?